Welcome to this explainer. I am so glad you're hanging out with us today because we've got a truly fantastic story to dig into. Now, we all love a good success story, right? We absolutely love the triumph, the glory, that exact moment when a champion is finally crowned. But you know what we usually forget? How those stories actually start. The truth is, not all success stories begin with this crazy wealth of natural talent, or instant fame, or immediate recognition. Actually, some of the most extraordinary stories begin with the exact opposite. They start with a profound, almost crushing sense of doubt. So let's dive into this. Today, we're exploring the journey of Tom Brady, a player who was once completely overlooked, vastly underestimated, and to be honest, nearly forgotten long before he ever became one of the greatest athletes in American football history. I really want you to stop and think about this for a second. Does success actually require natural talent? We're kind of conditioned to believe that the absolute superstars of the world are just born different, right? That they have some innate, raw, magical ability that the rest of us just don't possess. But what if that conventional wisdom is completely backward? What if the real secret to redefining greatness has absolutely nothing to do with the gifts you were handed at birth and everything to do with what you do when no one is handing you anything at all? Let's keep that in the back of our minds as we look at how this incredible story kicks off.
Section 1. The Myth of Natural Talent, Overlooked and Underestimated. Section 2. Fighting for the Spotlight, the Early Years.
Okay, picture this. Born in San Mateo, California, back in 1977, Tom Brady was just a completely normal kid. Growing up, nobody was looking at him and thinking, oh yeah, future superstar right there. There were literally no early signs pointing to a legendary career. He was pretty much entirely overlooked. And it wasn't a lack of passion, because he loved football. But out on the field, he just wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest. And when we hit 1995, his college years at the University of Michigan, things didn't magically get easier. They got incredibly tough. By 1997, he'd essentially been benched for 2 whole years. He had to sit there completely sidelined, just watching other guys take the spotlight. Even when he'd finally get a tiny window to play, he had to fight tooth and nail just to prove he deserved to be out there. Imagine that for a second. Working every single day, pouring your absolute heart into your craft, and still being told over and over that you just aren't good enough. That was his everyday reality leading right up to the fateful NFL draft in the year 2000.
So, how do you even respond to that kind of rejection? Well, instead of quitting, Brady made a highly deliberate choice. If he didn't have those natural physical gifts, fine. He decided he was just going to outwork absolutely everybody else. And he broke it down into 3 really crucial steps. Step 1, hours and hours of relentless practice. Step 2, intensely studying the game. He famously watched endless hours of film so he could understand opposing defenses better than they even understood themselves. And step 3, and honestly, this is the big one, improving the tiny details that everyone else just ignored. Things like perfecting his footwork in the pocket so he could dodge tackles, even though he didn't have breakaway running speed. Brady figured out that while everyone else was busy chasing attention and the spotlight, he needed to stay in the shadows and quietly, methodically, build his discipline. Section 3, pick number 199, the year 2000 draft.
Now, the draft was the moment that could have ended absolutely everything. For those who might not know, this is the event where players get selected to join the professional league. And as this draft began, the agony really set in. Player after player gets called. Round after round passes by. The hours just keep ticking on. Exactly six other quarterbacks were picked before him. Every single time a team needed a quarterback, they looked right past the kid from Michigan. They looked at the guys who were faster, the guys who were stronger. 6 different times, teams decided someone else was a safer bet. It was a pretty staggering display of just how little the sports world expected of him. And then, finally, deep into the 6th round, pick number 199, Tom Brady was selected. Now look, we all know that number is totally legendary today, but let's be very clear about what it actually meant at that exact moment back in 2000. Pick 199 was a symbol of deep, profound doubt. Historically speaking, most players picked that late in a draft never, ever make it big. Honestly, a lot of them don't even make the team's final roster. The league was essentially saying to him, hey, we really don't expect much from you. So, the really crucial thing to understand here is that even when he officially made it to the NFL, his daily reality hadn't really changed at all. He joined the New England Patriots, sure, but as a backup quarterback. Once again, he was not the star, he was not the main focus. Just like his early days in college at Michigan, he was completely overlooked, placed squarely in the background to basically watch someone else lead the team.
Section 4, seizing the unexpected opportunity, the 2001 pivot. Then, in 2001,
the starting quarterback for the Patriots gets injured. And just like that, literally out of nowhere, Tom Brady has his chance. The door swings wide open. Absolutely no one was expecting much from this unknown backup. But how did he handle it? He stayed calm. He remained incredibly focused. And most importantly, because of all those years of quiet, relentless discipline, he arrived prepared. The immense pressure of the moment didn't crush him, simply because he'd spent years preparing for a moment no one else thought would ever actually arrive. As he took over the offense, he proved something incredibly important, game by game. He didn't secure his starting spot by suddenly becoming the fastest or the strongest guy on the field. He definitely didn't rely on flashy, spectacular highlight reel plays. Instead, he relied on consistency, making smart decisions, and solid leadership. He leaned entirely on the discipline and the mastery of small details he had built when absolutely no one was watching. And relying on those specific traits led to an almost impossible climax. That exact same season, this young, completely unknown backup quarterback led the New England Patriots all the way to the biggest stage in American football, the Super Bowl. And they won. It genuinely remains one of the most stunning turnarounds in the history of sports.
Section 5. The Power of Determination. Decades of Dominance.
But you see, that initial victory wasn't just a stroke of luck. It was a launchpad. It was the direct result of years and years of being ignored, which he had actively weaponized into pure motivation. The expectation was that he was just this ignored draft pick that almost every single team passed on, basically an afterthought. But the reality? Over the next 2 decades, he didn't just play in the NFL, he absolutely dominated it. He went on to win multiple Super Bowls, shatter records, and completely redefined what greatness even looks like. The forgotten backup literally became the legend. And I think this quote right here perfectly distills the ultimate blueprint for all of us today. You don't need to be the most talented person in the room. You just need to be the most determined. Because at the end of the day, success isn't always about how you start the race. It really isn't about being born with all the natural gifts. Ultimately, success is really about how long you are willing to keep going when absolutely no one is watching you. When you're sitting on the bench, when you're agonizingly waiting at the draft, when you're stuck as the backup. That is exactly when the real work happens. So the very next time you feel overlooked, or the next time you feel like you're putting in all the work and nobody is giving you any credit, I want you to remember this blueprint. Remember the story of pick number 199.
Which brings us to our final question for this explainer. We've seen exactly what discipline did for an overlooked kid from San Mateo. So I'm going to leave you with this. Where could your determination take you when no one is watching? Keep that thought in your mind as you go out and tackle your own challenges this week. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I'll see you in the next one.